Hey, gonna make a video on INVO. Um, this was interesting. Uh, so this was a stock up on merger news, and some people in my Discord were like, "Hey, Jason, do you think this is a quick pre-market pop? It kind of fits, you know, might fit the pattern. Quick pop, make a new high, pull back." And the only thing I said about this was, A, first of all, I actually didn't see this until it was under VWAP, and B, I was saying like, oh, merger news is weird, like because you never quite know how the market maker or some fund is um, kind of valuing the merger agreement, right? There's a lot of shorts who will try to dive into um, kind of the fundamentals of the deal and how it affects the value of each company. In this case, it was a merger between a private company and a public company, which makes it even harder. Um, but I said one thing I didn't really like was like this volume ended up getting quite big. It started at 70K, but then got up to 250, got up to 400, and then I saw by the time, like I said, by the time I saw it, it was under VWAP and it was reclaiming, and the volume was just really, really consistent. I was like, man, these. I was saying in the pre-market in the Discord, I was like, these merger agreements, you never quite know if they're gonna fade really hard, because some fade really hard, some fade like 30%, like it means nothing, and sometimes it has like infinite bid support, right? It just seems I have like an infinite grindy bid, infinite grindy bid, um, and this is most news and low floats doesn't matter a whole lot. Most of the times it's something like LIPO on Friday, which I don't know if I made a video on. I can't remember if I had time, but um, oh yeah, I did. But LIPO was like FDA approval for an application to do something. You know what I mean? It's like that's the type of news you love to see. Mergers and acquisitions and stuff like that is it's definitely falls under the category of tricky news that can produce you know unwanted price action even in a low float stock. And yeah, so this is the new thing we're seeing in 2023. The stock closes below 75 cents. That means it opens up with really tight halt bands, and you just start getting, they fix some weakness into market open, which is actually a bullish factor. I didn't go long this, I didn't go short it, and that's just because it started doing, just like TPST, it starts doing this up halt, up halt, up halt, down halt, down halt, up halt, like I just can't read the structure at all. Like it's so hard to read. I mean, usually like this is a great example of don't chase out of down halts. The only time it really makes sense is if you have an amazing thesis like MTC China liquidation thesis. Like then maybe it's okay. But 99.9% of the time, chasing down halts is not the play. Just unreadable, man. I was just reading this. And this consolidation was pretty interesting, especially this candle. I was hoping this candle would soak and push a little higher. I was kind of hoping I would get a really, now this price actually becomes a lot more readable. It's not up halting, it's not down halting. There's some nice higher lows on this. You can actually read what the market maker is doing, and you can actually kind of predict when weakness is going to come in. I'll be honest, I took a really small short in the 280s here, but I was really looking for a big 285, 290 push. One thing I wasn't actually looking at was the Bookmap. I've been talking about a lot about Bookmap more. I should have been looking at it here because they were stacking a lot of offers up here in between 280 and 290. And I was one nice thing about Bookmap, it actually lets you know what levels kind of might have resistance. You might see some, if you're waiting for 290, well maybe there's 80, 90,000 orders between 285 and 290. It's like, well, maybe if I see the stock stall, I'll go in a little earlier, right? But yeah, so we get a pullback, and I was like, oh, there's a very similar ticket to this, which was VVOS, which is somebody very smart in my Discord. I forgot who it was, but they mentioned this back in January, one of these days. The 4th. And I was like, oh, INVO, I was saying in Discord, it'd be really nice for some backside. Like I'll trade it. I didn't really like the merger news, but it squeezed 350%. I was like, if it starts trading these backside volatility patterns, um, especially something like this. See, big consolidation, huge volume comes in. You fake out retail with these pushes. Like these are nice backside patterns on really strong, crazy up halty stocks that you'll see, right? We saw this on Yell, we saw this on VVOS, um, and I actually played some of the INVO backside stuff. And a big one was this price action. See, like it comes down to VWAP. This is a big down only pullback. Usually you'll see some backside games after quick pullbacks on strong stocks. Um, I was expecting. I was like, man. Again in Discord, I was like, oh, it's like, hey Jason, if you're short up here, what's your price target? I was like, well, I would probably wait for some VWAP support for retail longs to get in, and then some type of retail long trappy move, and then a pull, right? So I was like, that'd be a classic strong stock um, type of move. I love to see this is classic. You see very low volume. You see big, huge. Again, this is same huge initiation off of support. I'm looking at the lower highs and see it's 245s. I know 250 is there, so I'm in the Discord. I was like, hey guys, 250. I'm really interested. Once this volume came in, I was like, I'm really interested to see what happens over 250. I see this lower high over here near 2.6. But the thing is, you never quite know how far it's going to go. So this is when I like to use Bookmap. I like to see how many orders are between 2.6 and 2.8. I try to see stalling. I try to see bids get pulled to the downside. I like to see how many bids are down here. And yeah, I just took a short in the 250s because there was a good amount of orders all the way up to 280. And I got a nice reaction, low volume pullback, and I was like, well, I'll give myself. Some people ask me, what's your risk if you're shorting like these aggressive moves that take out these lower highs? What are you risking, right? It's like, well, I usually like to give myself, I use the Bookmap, see where the orders are, and I also like to give myself a few pushes, right? So I know there's a lower high here and there's a lower high here. Maybe it comes and gives us one last push and pull. So I like to give myself enough space. I probably would have risked somewhere in the mid to high 2.7s. Give myself enough space for this to push um, past these lower highs. Look at the book map, see how many orders are getting taken out. Look at the bid support. Uh, but I didn't even have to do that here. I just did a low volume pullback, a little rotation, and then a downhaul, right? So, and yeah, so 1 minute 200 is something I just you know, I just kind of do out of habit at this point. There's some short sellers in the Discord who are really successful and don't even look at it. They just keep holding. Nothing wrong with that. I did take some profit at the 1 minute 200 though, and then the rest of the day, um, I thought this could have been a potential buy. I thought actually this would maybe push 2.2s and pull. Turns out it was really aggressive, and much like VVOS, we had huge volume coming at 2.5, and I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to attack these 2.6 lower highs. But again, I never know. I really never know how high it's going to go. Um, my average was in the 2.5s from this price action, and I was still holding. And I was like, well, I'll wait to see if they swipe 2.6. They didn't. We get another pullback, big volume, fake up halt into a pullback. And then on this pullback, I noticed they're stacking a bunch of ask at 2.5. They pulled it under 2.5 and put a bunch of new ask there. They all got taken out here and then pulled back again. And then there was even more stacks. So this is what's nice about Bookmap. It can kind of give you an idea. Um, Actually, I could probably just open it up. I'll show you what I mean. It could give you an idea of like, is the level I'm looking at going to break? Or should I adjust my thinking and maybe take a position now? So this is TPST. Oh, sorry. Loading the data. I'm going to get Bookmap's actual application, by the way. I just did this to test it out. I really liked it. INVO might set up for tomorrow. I was kind of hoping it would fade into fade under 2 because it never broke 2.6. And fade really weak into 8 p.m., but it's not what we're getting right now. So it's here. So here's this big push that I'll go back, I'll show you. Here's that big volume that came in, broke 2.5. They stack it again right before they initiate it. They stack it really heavy. They break through it. It pulls back, and then the asks start to come in again. So again, big push. Restack the ask, take out the restack, pull it back, and stack it even. Like this is, and again, getting back to the chart. That's what this price action is. That's why this price action led to this downhaul, which led to this like VWAP crack, right? It's an aggressive swipe of a key level, which is 2.5. I'm keeping my eye on 2.6. If the bookmaps tell me a different story, maybe adjust and take another position. And I added on this pullback. I always like, by the way, I always like the wait for the big volume, the pullback, and then the push. So I always pay attention to the push. The push is the most important candle. And then they held these higher lows the whole day. And I'm like, man, maybe they break, maybe they come to 2.6, maybe they come to 2.6. Like I'm waiting for, these lower highs, these painted lower highs to come up and get swiped, and it never happened, right? We got a bunch of aggressive pushes, like look at this, aggressive push, massive reclaim, roll over into the downhaul. What's weird enough is this downhaul was the low of this. I actually thought after this happened, after this crazy, sorry, after this crazy long trappy candle, I thought this was going down to 1.5 right here. I thought this was just gonna fade. That's honestly what I thought. Didn't get it, but they just kept it up and never broke 2.6. And I held in the after hours, and it's doing some 8 a.m. curl, 8 p.m. curl, which is not very fun. But I was really hoping this would unwind. I was hoping, shorts would get frustrated, they would cover end of day, and then they would pull it, and they kind of did. But they just rotated it back up. But yeah, merger news, major lessons. Merger and acquisition news is kind of scary. Biotech is kind of scary. Uphalty, this is the previous close is 0.75, below 0.75. So you have these uphalt levels. These algos are like these Maxim, H.C. Wainwright algos are on these things now. These market makers are on these things. They're moving. They know the Haltbands really tight. And yeah, we just have to trade this type of stuff, which is great, which is just great. But some decent backside stuff, like here, this is nice. I love to see volume get really thin and then big initiation to clear out the backside, right? Shorts get really frustrated when this stuff happens. And yeah, and some interesting bookmap stuff. Like you really want to wait for the volume to come in, and sometimes the levels you pick are too early, right? And sometimes you'll take losses. I actually saw this 2.2 too late, and I actually didn't add to my short here, but so I actually got kind of lucky there. But yeah, choppy ticker. Looks like it might hold up till tomorrow. So yeah, maybe in the pre-market it gets above 2.6, or maybe market open gets above 3. So that's INVO merger ticker. Kind of scary stuff. A lot of consistent grindy volume in the pre-market. Really not what you want to see. So have a good one, guys.